This is the MochaFootball.com. This is the MochaFootball.com weekly podcast.
WMD Productions.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining the MochaFootball.com weekly podcast. Today, Damon's not going to be with us, and we're going to get into some of the games of the week. We're going to get into last week's game of the week. This week's game of the week was Sherwood Northwest. That's a huge one. And also I'm going to talk about the Elite Six, some of the games that we have going on there. But before I get into all that, since I'm kind of by myself a little bit today, I wanted to touch on a few things that were hot button issues the last few weeks, and things that I couldn't really talk about on the board because whether I was too busy or I didn't have the chance on here to talk about them. I kind of want to address things before we get into the usual stuff that we usually get into. The first and foremost thing that I want to talk about is the activism that's been going around in sport, specifically on the high school football level, with the young kids. Kids doing things to create awareness about different issues that are going on in our society. That's something that I, first and foremost, before I even get deep into that, the reason why I love this county so much, besides the fact that we have 40 plus state championships, besides the fact that we have some of the greatest players to ever play high school football in Maryland, not only in Maryland, in this area, besides the fact that we have some of the best programs, state or area wide, is the fact that our county is so diverse. You can go one place in the county, you'll get something totally different if you drive 5 miles down the street. And that's something I love about this county. It's something I hold dear to my heart. It's kind of what made me who I am today. The reason why I can go to work and I can relate to so many different kinds of people is because I grew up in Montgomery County. And I think that that's a privilege that a lot of kids, a lot of people in general don't really have. A lot of people don't get to be exposed to different ways of life, different thinkings that they probably wouldn't have never been exposed to if they were just to stay in their comfort zone all the time. And in Montgomery County, it kind of forces you to get out of your comfort zone, to kind of think about things in more of a broader perspective than you even wanted to, just kind of living in your cocoon. And with that being said, I just want to say that I appreciate what Watkins Mill and some other schools have done, but specifically them, because they've gotten the most attention and what they're continuing to do when it comes on to raising awareness. When you have a kid, for example, you take a Daquan Williams or you take a Brian McNary, who they're seniors. And Daquan Williams, because of a situation he had early in the year, he already had a game taken away from his senior year. And those kids could easily have been like, look, it's my senior year. I don't want any controversy. I just kind of want to go out and play ball. But they're taking it upon themselves to bring awareness to something, and knowing that there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with what they're doing. And they're still making sure that, because the cause or the thing that they're protesting, that Watkins Mill is protesting and others are protesting, are bigger than any one football game or any one thing that we may be doing here at the MochaFootball.com weekly podcast, or whatever the case may be. And I also appreciate the people that don't agree with Watkins Mill, that have voiced their opinions in a reasonable, controlled manner. And that's the reason why, and I explain it to people, like, that's the differences, and that's the reason why this county is so great. When you leave this county, you go other places, you don't get that paradigm, you don't get that juxtaposition a lot of times. And because I grew up in this county, I kind of can see both sides, and these kids, the Watkins Mill kids, are seeing both sides, and the kids and the kids and the parents and the communities that have never really thought about it now get to think about it, and it's all in one microcosm that we all live in, which is Montgomery County. And I just love the fact that it created discussion, and that while there's people that agree or disagree, for the most part, it's all been reasonable. I want to thank the Damascus community for, of course, like, there's going to be people that do things that, you can't control. And, those people definitely need to be dealt with. There's no question about that. But for the most part, 99.9% of the Damascus community, 99.9% of everybody involved with Damascus did a great job in being reasonable, being more than welcoming to Watkins Mill. And I just want to say thank you to them, because it's not easy to put something that you hold dear to your heart aside to kind of understand other people. So I just want to say that first and foremost, and that's something that's very, very dear to my heart. The next step for the kids is making sure you're role models in the community. It's great that you're bringing awareness to whatever cause that you're talking about, but make sure that you're doing things within the community actively to make your presence known, to better it. It's more time, giving your time to whatever cause it is. It doesn't have to be a race or social economical issue. It could be something totally different, but whatever it is, giving your time and effort to it, I think, is the next step for not only the kids but all people. If you feel strongly about something, make sure that you're out there trying to help it, not being neutral and kind of just sitting back watching everything. Go out and help whatever cause you think that needs to be helped. So I thank you for giving me that time to kind of talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about last week's game of the week and this week's game of the week. First and foremost, congratulations to Richard Montgomery for a humongous win. That was really, really big for them. They continue to roll. They're 4-0. Ty Hebron is one of the most underrated guys in this county, and he is definitely showing why he's an MVP candidate, and what RM was able to do to Wooten and shutting down Wooten's potent offense was definitely impressive. I just think that this proves that RM is something to deal with, and it's not just Ty Hebron. When you talk about this kid, Zion Mitchell Payton, I said on the last podcast that I wanted to see what he was able to do. He's able to do a lot, folks. I mean, he's 6'6", 230. He was a kid that, honestly, I had really no idea about going into this season. And he's shown he's one of the top players in this county. If that kid can be a special player for RM, look out. RM is going to be definitely a dangerous. So that was that. Transitioning over to this week's game of the week, we have Sherwood versus Northwest. Obviously, this game is near and dear to my heart. Sherwood is in a situation where they can't afford to even drop a game. Honestly, they have to have that mindset, because if you really look at where things are in their region, there's going to be at the very least 2 10-0 teams going forward, and that's only going to leave 2 spots left. And depending on what other teams do, it may only leave 1. So Paint Branch and Sherwood are going to be battling it out to see who can get in that 1 or 2 spots. And I hope that both Paint Branch and Sherwood kind of get into it. So, that's just me being selfish. and then Paint Branch and Sherwood win their first game, and then that can set up a all MoCo regional finals. But that's just being selfish. I understand that. But the thing I'm most excited about this game is the whole matchup between, you have a two-headed monster in Juwan Ferrari and the beast that is Khalil Owens, and then you have just an absolute monster on the other side for sure when it comes to Travis Levy. And both teams right now have young quarterbacks, and so primarily they've been running teams, and rightfully so. That's where the most of their talent is in the backfield right now. Sherwood uses a lot of quarterback run, so I think that Michael Maboni is going to have a chance to be special as well. I expect both teams to kind of stay true to form and keep the ball on the ground. I'm going to really be looking for, who's going to win that turnover battle, who's going to be able to keep the ball. I think that's going to be very, very important to the outcome of this game. Obviously, it's been talked about on the board with the rain situation and everything. That's going to be really important to make sure, and I think that's going to make both teams even more of running teams. So, looking at that's going to be a very interesting dynamic thrown into these weekend's games overall, but definitely this game. And for Northwest, I think that I'm looking at Alfonso Foray, because he's a kid that, in my opinion, has not yet made his mark on this season. He's been hurt a little bit at the beginning of the season, has came back in, I think, the last 2 weeks. And I'm looking for him to maybe have a breakout game. He's a kid that we talked about early on in the season, and I just really think that he's too good of an athlete for us to be talking about him so little at this point in the juncture. So I'm looking at him. I'm looking at, for Sherwood, Jarvis Tillman. I mean, this kid, physically, he is very, very impressive. He's came on the last few weeks, and he's been a really big-time player for Sherwood, not only on the offensive side, but on the defense side, which I think that is probably his most impressive side of the ball, where he does a lot of his damage. So look out for that name, Jarvis Tillman, for Sherwood. And Sherwood just has a bunch of young kids that I really, really like. I'm really, really pleased with. Coach Greer is doing a great job. This is one of his better coaching jobs since he's been at Sherwood. A lot of people thought that without Marcus Sims that they wouldn't be the high scoring offense that they were before, but obviously they've continued that up, but this is going to be the first test. Obviously, I believe that Sherwood's combined record of their opponents is something like 4 and something or 3. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely not a lot. It's a little to a lot. And so this is definitely going to be the first test going into a hostile environment. It's Northwest homecoming, so I'm really interested to see who wins this matchup. And I'm going to go with, of course, I'm going to go with Sherwood. I'm going to say 17-16. I think that it's going to be that close, and I respect Northwest to the fullest. I think that Northwest got everybody where they want them. This is Northwest's MO, to drop 1 or 2 games during the regular season, and then I'll come out, beat 1 or 2 teams that people are not expecting them to beat, and then I'll be in the semifinals or the finals or in the state championship. So I think Northwest got us exactly where they want us right now, and doubting them and picking against them and everything like that. And now, eventually they're gonna, Coach Newbauser, that's what he does. He's not one of those guys where it's like it has to be perfect and everything like that. He's one of those guys that it's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be perfect, it's not going to be pretty, but he's going to be able to get the team where he needs it to be and at the right time. That's the thing about Northwest. They always have good timing. So I look for that to continue. Okay, we're going to get into the Elite Six games this week. First and foremost, we have Damascus going to Wheaton. This has been scheduled for Saturday. I got Damascus winning this game 52-7. I think that Damascus is on a roll right now, and I don't see it stopping at this point. Marcus Vincent is a kid that on both sides of the ball has been just otherworldly from the jump, from the game one. He's been ridiculous, and I see that continuing even if he's only going to be playing a quarter or a half or whatever it's going to be. I'm expecting him to continue that dominance and that greatness. We have QO going to Gaithersburg. I have QO winning this one 31-10. I think that QO is going to have a dominant defensive performance, and I think the offense is going to kind of get back on track from last week's kind of poor showing. I just talked about the Sherwood Northwest game. So we have Blair versus Paint Branch. This is a game that if it wasn't for the Sherwood Northwest game, it probably would have been the game of the week. Blair going to Paint Branch. I'm gonna go with this one's a tough one. I have such respect for Paint Branch and what they've been able to do in turning around this season after that a really devastating loss at the beginning. That for most programs that would have crushed all hopes and dreams, but Paint Branch has bounced back and been able to have a real good showing, and I appreciate what Coach Neesmith is doing with them, and nobody's talking about them. They're kind of underneath the radar right now, and they're not in the rankings and everything like that. So I think that they're kind of underneath I think they have everybody where they want them, but I'm gonna go with Blair. However, I think this is the season for Blair right now, and I think that continues. I think that they're gonna win 24-23. And last but not least, we have Senegal Valley hosting Magruder. I'm going to go with this game 48-0. I think Senegal Valley is just going to continue what they're going to be doing. Thank you for sticking with me. Like I said, Damon can't join us today because he's dealing with some things personally. So we're gonna have him back next week. Don't worry. Damon's not going anywhere. But thank you for joining the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying through my first part if you did, and make sure you get out to the games, and good luck with everything for the rest of your week.